Now that's original.
Sorry. It's been a long time. If there was hope here in this life only, I'd be so lost and alone. I'd have no savior. My life would be so lonely. There'd be no need to go on. I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. I'm glad I believe He'll make all things new. Though I find trouble as through this vain world I trod, I'll make it 'cause I believe in God. There was a time my life was empty and vain. It seemed my last hope was gone. Then Jesus found me. My life is no longer the same. He gave me the strength to go on. I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. I'm glad I believe He'll make all things new. Though I find trouble as through this vain world I trod, I'll make it 'cause I believe in God. I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. I'm glad I believe He'll make all things new. Though I find trouble as through this vain world I trod, I'll make it 'cause I believe in God. Yes, I'll make it 'cause I believe in God.
Good morning and welcome back to Original Thursday. The song you just heard was written by Pap. I'm not sure how old the song is, but I think there's a good chance that it goes back to the late 60s or the very early 70s. Several years ago when I was going through a lot of old reel-to-reel tapes that Dad had made on his old Roberts reel-to-reel recorder, I found him singing the song by himself. It was pretty clear that he was working on the song, sort of trying different things and trying to figure out the song. And one thing I remember distinctly, if the song was in G, Pap was doing a little a little kickoff for the song that was something like this. Whoops, let's try that again. I cannot pick, I'm sorry. If there were hope. And I remember that caught my attention because there is no A minor in that song. But Pap was using that note experimenting with that as a kickoff. And they didn't really sing the song that much for a long time, but sometime after I began playing with them, I began playing with them when I was 17. Sometime after that, we sort of pulled that song back out. I don't know if it was because I had heard Pap sing it maybe by himself, or I'd heard that reel to reel, or I'd found it written down on paper. But at any rate, I feel like I am probably the one who sort of brought it back to their attention, and then they started singing it. And they recorded it on this album right here. And you'll notice, if you can read that at least, that it became the title of the recording. This was a recording or an album that was funded by the North Carolina Arts Council. And it was made in 1990, recorded at the John C. Campbell Folk School. And so it has that song on it, I Believe in God. And just in a little bit, you'll hear, not this recording, because I only have it on cassette, but you'll hear it on this recording, which was a little bit later in the 90s. And this is from a live performance, or at least a good portion of the album. There's also some radio cuts on here, but the lion's share of the songs on here come from that live performance. And track number 9 is I Believe in God. I would go to the trouble of letting you hear both the studio cut and the live cut, but they're very, very similar. I don't feel like there's any sort of noticeable differences in how the song was approached between the two. So I'll just let you hear the live one because it's on CD and it's much easier for me to kind of transfer that into the YouTube video. Both on the studio recording and the live version, I kicked the song off and turned it around in the middle. Now on the live version, my kickoff is very faint, and the reason is there were 2 microphones set up, 2 sets of microphones set up for that evening. There was a set that went into the PA set for the audience to hear, and we all had PA mics, but then there was a second set that went into a recorder that David Brose was running, and he did not have enough mics that night, so Pap and Ray both had vocal mics that went into the recorder. I know at least Ray had a guitar mic that went into the recorder, maybe Pap, but I did not have a guitar mic that went into the recorder. So everyone in the audience that night could hear me just fine because I did have a PA mic, but I didn't have a mic that went into the recorder. So you'll hear that kickoff, but it's a little bit faint. And I took that note that I had heard Pap experiment with, but instead of going to A minor, I just hit that same note in D, and came back to G as the kickoff and turnaround. A little out of tune, sorry. So the kickoff and turnaround became sorry, I'm out of tune, but I was very much into cross picking in those days, so it's no surprise that that's the way I played it. And of all Pap's songs, this one has probably always been in at least my top 5, maybe top 3 favorite songs. And it isn't so much about the lyrics, because this is one of his more simple songs. There really are not that many words to the song. I would classify it as more of a personal testimony song, and Pap had a few songs like that where it was just giving his testimony about how Christ had come into his life, changed his life. Other songs by Pap that were a little more detailed in terms of the lyrics were written more in trying to persuade someone who doesn't know Christ. This song doesn't really try to do that. It's only sort of applicable to self. It's all in first person and talking about boy, I was just kind of going nowhere. I was just leading a very lonely, meaningless life until I found Christ. And now that's no longer the same, like the song says. And then also, I appreciate this about the song, that it doesn't promise that everything is just going to be hunky-dory and great in life just because you've accepted Jesus. Jesus told us in the Bible and told the disciples that we will go through hard times and tribulation, but that it will be okay. Just have faith. And so the very end of the chorus basically, makes that statement. There may be a lot of bad things, but in the end, I will make it. I'll be all right. I'll make it. My soul will make it. Why? Because I believe in God, and I'm glad I believe, is what the song says. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about the song. As far as why it's one of my personal favorites, it's because of the notes in the verse are just some of the most lonesome notes that I've ever heard. So in G, it would be the note would be something like this. Let's see. Where would it be? Here, it would be way down here. Whoop, let's try it again. So that note is, if there were hope. It's just such a lonesome note. Here in this life only, I'd be so lost and alone. And it comes back. I'd have no Savior. 'Twould be so sad and lonely. So that is why it's one of my favorites. It's just such a lonesome melody right there. It's just so beautiful. I think it probably comes from the same era or time period in Pap's life as another one of my favorites, maybe my all-time favorite of his, which is Beyond This Veil of Tears. And they both have that lonesome quality about them. So that's why I like them so much. Now, the video that you saw at the beginning, as you saw the names appear there, those are two of my good friends that I have known since they were very young, and that would be, of course, Nick Powell and Wade Powell III. And you've heard me talk about them here on the channel before, especially Little Wayde. Now, Nick, I hadn't seen in person. I hadn't seen Nick since he was probably in his early 20s, and I think he's about 45 now. And so right around Thanksgiving, it was just it was a great experience that he came back. He brought his wife and his two little girls who are so sweet. And I got to spend about 3 different days with Nick. Did some carpenter work with him, which I really enjoyed, and got to pick. We picked at least twice, if not 3 times. The first time it was just me and him, and we just 2 flat tops, and we played a lot of Christmas songs and just whatever came to our minds. But then the last time, which was actually the same day that I played with Ed, that evening I went and played with Nick and his friend Jimmy Redden, who's a great banjo player, and then Little Wayde. Now, Little Wayde normally plays a guitar or a banjo, but he is not feeling very well, and he's had some recent surgery on his shoulder, and he can't really reach over a normal guitar nor really hold a banjo without a lot of pain. So that's why he was playing the bass. And in his defense, he was not familiar with the song. But that arrangement of the song is Nick's arrangement. And I owe Nick a big thank you, because he introduced the song to the Marksmen Quartet, and then they recorded the song and they performed the song, as they would go around and do their concerts. Nick shared with me that he learned the song from a man whose last name is Lance. I'm going to stop the recorder for just a second and grab my phone. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm back now. It'd been a while since Nick and I had that conversation, so I had to go back and make sure I got the name correct. So Nick shared with me that he learned that song, I Believe in God, that Pap wrote, that he learned it from a gentleman named Scott Lance. And Scott's father, Cecil Lance, ran the Radio Shack years ago in Blairsville, Georgia. And Scott was, Nick said, was a very good musician and a very good songwriter himself. And he had heard the song somewhere and he taught it to Nick. And then Nick taught that song to, like I said, the Marksmen Quartet. So we owe a debt of gratitude to Nick, and then we owe one to Scott Lance also. Unfortunately, that one would be posthumous because Nick let me know that unfortunately Scott passed away several years ago. I think he was only around the age of 60. But I'm glad that he liked that song, that he shared it with Nick, and then Nick shared that with the Marksmen, and then of course that led to a lot more people hearing the song than just the few folks who would have heard from Pap and Ray, the Wilson brothers. Now the way Nick performs the song, he has his own arrangement, and when you hear, in just a little bit, when you hear Pap and Ray do the song, I believe they do the song in G. It could have been in A. I should have checked before I started recording it. Nick sang the song in A, so I think that might be a couple frets higher than Dad and Ray did the song. But when the Wilson brothers did the song, it was just a 3-chord song: G, C, D. Now what Nick has done in his arrangement, he's added one quick chord change to the high chord, and then he has added a 4th chord, which if you were in G would be F major. If you were in A, as Nick did the song, it would be G major. And I would describe it as a bluegrass arrangement, not just because you have Jimmy there playing, bluegrass style banjo. Just having a banjo doesn't automatically make something bluegrass. But I think Nick's arrangement of Pap's song is sort of a modern or progressive bluegrass arrangement. And what it does not change the melody of the song really at all, but it kind of feels some, I don't want to say holes, but some wait times in between melody and in between notes. So when Pap and Ray sang the song, you have, if there were hope here in this life only. So quite a few beats in the chord of G before there's ever any change. So the first thing that's different in Nick's arrangement is there would be a quick C. If there were hope. And then the next thing that would be different in Nick's arrangement is before going to C again, there would be an F. Here in this life only, I'd be so lost and alone. I'd have no savior. 'Twould be so sad and lonely. There'd be no need to go on. So it just kind of makes, it beefs it up a little bit, I guess you would say, and just kind of makes more going on while that melody is playing out. I said it doesn't really change the melody. If you think about it, a G7, which is something you would hit before going to C. Well, that note is also an F note. So whether you could do that either way. If there were hope here in this life only, G7, or make it a full F. If there were hope here in this life only. Almost the exact same thing, maybe a slight different maybe just a tiny adjustment up with your voice when you go to the full F. But I really like Nick's arrangement. If I ever do the song, that's the arrangement I'm going to use. If Pap and Ray were still making music and they heard that arrangement, I think that's the arrangement that they would use as well, because it's a great arrangement. When you hear Pap and Ray sing it, of course there'll be no banjo, unfortunately, or no great mandolin playing like Nick was doing there. He was always a fantastic mandolin player. He doesn't play the mandolin that much anymore these days, but hopefully he'll start doing more of that. He's had some injuries to his hand. He shared with me doing construction work, and that affects him more on the mandolin than on the guitar. But when you hear Pap and Ray sing it, just my thoughts on that performance. It is a good performance. You can buy this CD, by the way, if you just go to the Blind Pig and the Acorn Etsy shop. You can order this and Tipper will ship it to you. The order of the songs as they appear are not really necessarily the order of how they were done that night. And I think even though it's track 9 on here, I think from listening to the recording, it was probably toward the very beginning of the set. And I can kind of tell that Ray's voice is not sort of fully warmed up just yet. And if you will notice when you listen to it, the midpoint of the first chorus, which would be, let's see, I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. I'm glad I believe He'll make all things new. Starting right here. Though I find trouble. From that point on, you will notice a big difference in Ray's voice. Starting with that phrase, though I find trouble. Starting with that phrase, he really kills it on the lyric, on the vocal, I'm sorry. Leading up to that, he's wobbling a little bit on his pitch. And so that makes me think that we either were just getting started and he wasn't fully warmed up, or maybe he couldn't hear himself very well yet. Maybe they hadn't brought the monitor up or something where he could hear himself. But from that point, the midpoint of the first chorus to the end, he really does a great job singing it. Another subtle difference between the way Pap and Ray sang the song and the way Nicky sang the song, and if you're that interested, you can go back and hear Nicky sing it again. But when Nicky sings the song, he sings, I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. He goes down on that note. I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. I'm glad I believe. And it adds an emphasis there. When Dad and Ray sang the song, that note stays up. It doesn't go down. They sang it like this. I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. I'm glad I believe. It just stays up there. It doesn't come down. Very subtle difference, but a difference. It surprised me when Nicky kind of pulled the song out and we just started doing it there. And I did not think I could sing tenor on it in A, where Nick was singing it. And Nick has a very low pitched voice. He can sing, like almost like a Merle Travis or a Johnny Cash. He can get super low. So it surprised me that he sang the song in A like that. But I didn't really. Pap could have sung tenor on it there, probably easily, and maybe he even did. I haven't checked. I'm thinking it was in G, but it could have been A. So what I tried to do in the video there is I tried to sing low harmony under Nick. I wasn't very confident with it, so I didn't sing out very loud, and then of course the camera was back behind me, so you might not be able to hear me that much. But I can tell that would work. In fact, if Jamie Shook had been there, Jamie could have maybe sung the tenor, and then we would have had a trio. So maybe that's something, Lord willing, we can experiment with one day, because I think audiences would like the song. It's a great song. It just has a great tempo, a great feel. What I tried to do is then switch from the low harmony on the sort of the end of the chorus to tenor, to high harmony on the I Believe in God. And I think that approach would work. I just wasn't very confident with it right there. I also want to say a big thank you to Nick's wife, Hope. She just decided to hold up a cell phone from a different part of the room and record us doing that song. Little Wayde might not be so glad that she did record it because, like I said, he clearly didn't know the song, and he missed a note or two here or there. But he is a phenomenal musician, so don't judge him by, or any of us really, by this rough recording. But it's Original Thursday. Pap wrote the song, so I thought you might enjoy hearing this bluegrass sort of adaptation of his song. And with that, I'll shut up now and I'll let you hear Pap and Ray singing the song as the Wilson Brothers back in the 90s. Thanks for watching. Lord willing, next Tuesday we'll have not only a song for Old Timey Tuesday, but then that evening we will have our first ever live stream, and I'll be singing Christmas songs. So join us for that if you can.
If there was hope here in this life only, I'd be so lost and alone. I'd have no Savior, would be so sad and lonely. There'd be no need to go on. I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. I'm glad I believe He'll make all things new. Though I find trouble as through this vain world I trod, I'll make it. I believe in God. There was a time my life was empty and vain. It seemed my last hope was gone. Then Jesus found me, my life's no longer the same. He gave me the strength to go on. I'm glad I believe God's promise is true. I'm glad I believe He'll make all things new. Though I find trouble as through this vain world I trod, I'll make it. I believe in God.